Tomorrow is a speech in the play Macbeth by Shakespeare. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all of our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And in my world, I scratch out nothing and turn it into everything. You mix the dough today for a bread that you bake tomorrow. And at Tomorrow and Tomorrow, we bake a cold fermented, slow process, hand mixed bread. I first started mixing bread and creating sourdough, fermentation arts about 10 years ago. But there was something raw and elemental about bread that captured my imagination. Radiant heat and using an oven and a hearth to roast, to bake, to rise, to dehydrate. It was a tool that inspired me. And the tactile process of mixing dough in my hands and creating the shapes, there's parts of it that you can control, but then there's a lot of it that's out of your control, and it always felt interesting to make a loaf of bread, look at it, taste it, and always find something that you can improve on, and I still find that. When you're working with bread, you're working only with the ingredients, flour, water, salt, but then the temperature, the ambient temperature of the world you're in, and the time that it takes for the culture to become active and thrive. Basically, bread, it rises and falls. It breathes just like we do. You mix the flour, water, and salt. It rises. And there's a point at which it's reached its maximum fermentation. What's happening is all the yeasts are having a feast. And as they feast, they produce gas and eat and digest this, the flour, basically their meal. And that gas creates the rising of the bread. But when they've feasted and are full, that's the point. That's the baker's point, where you want to bake right then. That's the best bread you can make. So we start the mix at an ambient room temperature and then put it in the fridge to slow it down. So that rise starts and then slows down, and that creates a sweeter bread. Being in rhythm, in tune with the rising and falling, with the breath of the bread, is a spiritual space. It's kind of like an elusive, mystical space. You don't really know, but you have a feeling about it. Bread absolutely has a special place in bringing people together. I mean, breaking bread is the phrase of, communing with one another. And it's an ancient food, it's an ancient art form. Here at TNT, we say the bread is the canvas, and then from that, bread turns into pasta, bread turns into desserts, bread turns into pizza, it turns into a sandwich, it turns into so many different things, but the bread is really the main thing. It's kind of like a plate for other beautiful ingredients and flavors to be served on. Cafe culture is a crossroad for people of all walks of life to stop for a moment, have something accessible that everybody can share, whether that's a piece of bread or a cup of coffee or tea, something simple. And the cafe culture is the word. Culture is the word of bread, because we're tending a culture, and that culture is what rises. That's the fermentation. That's the spontaneous culture that's happening at TNT and in cafes all over the world, that holds space for something new to happen. It's the best part of it. It's the best part of being here, is having those conversations and new friendships.